food stamps, diapers, utilities, assistance. I found it hurtful and ignorant. Do people think when someone's situations like this changes that they throw out everything they had before and replace it with raggedy garbage? It was bad enough that I or anyone need to ask for charity. Why tease me about it? Seriously, is what she says. So the opposite. She had been experienced, she had lost everything, she still had clothing, whatever, and wore that clothing, and people said, why are you coming? You don't look like you need. So what does somebody look like when they're in need? What if one of our brothers and sisters look like they're in need? What are they supposed to do? Go out and look raggedy and whatever? You know, those assumptions that we have. I'm sorry.
I was just going to add, I grew up here before, and I remember my mother, going with my mother to receive. I also remember, health and nutrition is important. Now my mother bringing home a pamphlet of 101 things you can do with macaroni, and because we would also get commodities. But I've worked in human service agencies for 29 years, and I've forever have told people you're only one decision away from being on the other side of the desk. And that decision may not be yours. And it's that my grandmother too used to tell me for the grace of God. That she also used to tell me, boy, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. But the story is just so on. I think all too often we forget or we don't really understand that it doesn't take much for us to have to reach out our hands and ask for assistance. And if we can come to that conclusion, I think you live the human dignity because you are our brothers and sisters.
We are. I mean, I think when Jesus said, when you serve the least of these, you serve me. So when I look at, Brian, I'm looking at the face of Jesus. When I look at Father David, when I look at Chanel, my daughter, Linda, all of you, Paul, I'm looking at the face of Jesus. It's difficult because sometimes, I can be my own worst enemy, and nobody wants to talk to me. Okay, so you know what I'm saying? It's not. These are not platitudes that I'm throwing out at you. These are things that we, those of us who have experienced it, maybe even our own family, not necessarily us personally, our own family, have to be careful how we assume that that's why they're at the position that they're in. We have to get rid of assumptions or myths about people, especially those that can you imagine trying to raise a family on $620-some a month? And one of the assumptions is, well, those women on W-2, or at the time it was A for dependent children, they're going to keep having children so they can get more money. Well, that's gone, y'all. The state of Wisconsin, under certain people, no longer, $600 remains $600 no matter what. Your food stamp does not increase, okay? And we're talking about, I know what it costs to go to the grocery store. Just basic stuff, milk, some little vegetables and fruit to pay, for my groceries. It's like, oh my goodness. Even with I'm a coupon crazy person. I really am. Double coupon day, I gotta be there. But even then, and my $600 is gone. It's my husband and I, my daughter, and I have 4 grandchildren, one on the way, November 8th, it's going to be a little girl. And then one in March. Do you know what it costs to take care of grandchildren? Diapers. So when we talk about, they can take care of themselves. Or the other thing is, I want to say, and then we'll go on to the second area, is when we provide things that we no longer have to deal with anymore, our clothing, or, we're going to give things for people, dishes or whatever. And we receive all that at our church. We receive donations. Last week, somebody, and I wasn't there when it happened, they left furniture. It was the oldest furniture I've ever seen. It was broken, and the table was cracked. It was wooden, like a wooden dining table. I asked Father, I said, who did this? Who would drop off this for somebody else? That's, to me, is an abomination. Why would you think someone in need. In other words, give what you yourself would wear, you yourself would put in your house. You know what I'm trying to say? For some reason, we get bags of clothing that are dirty. I want them to think, is that something you would give to Jesus? Would you do that? You know, we have to, these assumptions about our people that are in need, because of the 90, I'd say 100%, 99.9 people I've worked with, okay, over my lifespan, have been people who are in need, who are searching for a better way to get out of that stuff. I know I was. Searching to get a better way, and through the grace of God, I was able to. By the grace of God. And only the grace of God was I able to. You know, finally had a wonderful job. I'm comfortable. I'm retired now. Still working. You know, just because you're retired doesn't mean you can't do that Social Security. Anyway, but you know what I'm trying to say. Okay, are there any questions on this piece? Because next one's going to be a little harder. I'm warning you. A little harder. Okay, but I have this. I have to. Let's go quick. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Did you say the poverty level is $12,000 a year?
No, he said.
For a family of four, it's somewhere around 12,500.
12,500.
Yeah.
And so, but someone who's making 15 is not considered.
That's correct. By the Department of Labor Statistics, they are.
Where the hell did they come up with that?
That's part of the problem. Some of these numbers haven't changed for many years.
I mean, 12,500. I mean,
I guess. What is
so,
the difference?
I was just amazed by that. That's poverty. We know poverty is way higher than that.
This morning they said 22 or something. I think they said this morning it's 22. Yeah. This is from the Islamic etiquette. This is a beautiful thing. It says, if you come across a poor person at a gathering, or you were invited by a poor person at your home or at work, do not look down upon him or her because you consider them poor. Poverty is not a defect or a fault to be ashamed of. But lack of kindness and generosity is. Isn't that powerful? Poverty is not a defect or a fault to be ashamed of, while the lack of kindness and generosity is. That's from the Islamic etiquette. Isn't that powerful?
Yes.
Yes. Now, we talk about cultural competency. Now, I know that when we look at the face of poverty, at one time, and in fact, the percentage earlier was primarily African heritage. But if you look at when we say that, so what exactly does that mean? Because African heritage means lots of people, from different cultures. Okay. In fact, it interests me when someone will say, we have Africans at our parish. And my next question is, what country? Because most people don't say, I have Europeans at my parish, right? Yes, okay. So I ask them what country, and I'll have to, most people say, I'm not sure. Cultural competency, sensitivity to cultural differences. Because we're now becoming a church that God wants us to be. People from all over the world come to our shores and they're joining us. In fact, we had so many beautiful baptismal, that it was just wonderful. Different cultures, people from different African countries being baptized into the church. How beautiful is that, right? So, from different parts of, the Latin community. That was part of when I was working for the senator. I got a chance I spent a lot of time on our south side, but on the east side. When we think about the Latino community, and I learned this from Abel Ortiz, who's Mexican descent. He said, Hispanic is not something I like because the government gave us that. He preferred Latino, but actually he preferred being called Mexican. Okay, so I'm listening, I'm learning. You know, for me, I have a deficit because I don't speak another language. Most Americans, there's a joke, right? You know, what do we call somebody who speaks 3 languages? Who speaks 3 languages? No. Trilingual. Somebody who speaks 2 languages.
Bilingual.
Okay, somebody who speaks one. There you go. That's us. But, it's getting better, because, that was not something that we demanded that we do, right? And when a lot of people came to our shores, you can't speak that way, but you need to speak English, right? Get rid of your culture, you must speak English. Is that not correct? Okay, I learned that from a lot of people. Okay. So when I talked to him, and I also understood that on the near south side, it wasn't just Mexican Americans over there. There were Salvadorians, people from Cuba, Chile, okay, South America. On the east side of Milwaukee are people from Puerto Rico. Okay, Puerto Rican brothers and sisters, not immigrants, right? They're not. Okay, and so my role, I was immersed in this sensitivity training about who I was as an African heritage woman, functioning in a multicultural, really what we say multicultural, diverse world in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and the state of Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and the state of Wisconsin. Was it easy? No, but I had to be open to learning and respecting the cultural competency of who we are as our brothers and sisters. Okay. It says, one of the things says being open, this is from a Massachusetts Department of Health. Oh, thank you, honey. God bless you. That's my right-hand person all the time. Department of Higher Education and Nursing Program. One of the things that being open to learning about other cultures, exposing oneself to other cultures, and being open to learning something new. Okay. Knowing and understanding cultural norms and attitudes and beliefs and culturally influenced health behaviors. How many, I know that Catholic Charities provides counseling. Is that not correct? Therapy? Okay. And there is any health care? No, just counseling. Okay. So, listening to patients and residents carefully. I think we talked about that a little bit. Listening. Okay. Applying the same principles of respect, openness, and mutuality to culturally unique patients, residents as you would to patients, residents of the same or similar background. Applying the same principles of respect and openness, valuing diversity, recognizing people's biases, stereotypes, and prejudice, eliminating those stereotypes, generalizations, and avoiding words that suggest that all or most members of a particular group are the same. Providing an interpreter so that the patient, resident can participate in decision-making about their care. That's very important because you deal with immigration issues, right? Okay. I have a very close friend. His name is Fesaheimer Brato. He's the one that got me here. He is the director of PACA, which is an organization. It's an organization, I just had another senior moment, community, Pan-African Community Association, thank you. And he works with our brothers and sisters majority from different countries in Africa, helping them to assimilate into our culture here, I would say, way of life, I should say, in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, primarily. And I've learned so much from him about all the differences just within 2 or 3 countries. There are cultural differences that we have to be aware of. One of the things I experienced working for the senator, I had a project with the fire department, and the chief was like, I left the senator's office in 2006. Like a year before I left, the fire department wants to do some cultural training for the division. So I worked with their chief, and what they did was they had their fire team, the chief, assistants to the chief, meet with different cultures in the city of Milwaukee, the Jewish community, in particular Hasidic community, the Hmong community, the Laotian community, the Mexican community, and I forget another one. And the reason for that is when they go into a home, there are things they have to be aware of, especially EMT. EMT, I'm sorry. Especially because they're going to give you health care. They're going to touch you, whatever, how they react about their women. I learned that the Hasidic community has some very strict rules about how you react and interact in their community. So they took the effort to develop this program, which I thought was phenomenal. If we provide any type of psychological or any type of service for someone of a different culture, we have to be competent, especially if we don't have somebody on our staff. And I'm sorry, I haven't seen anybody. Bless y'all. It'll happen, right? I'm talking to the people who run the place, not those of you who are just, helping out. You know what I'm saying? Anybody listening?
Yes.
Okay. Those who run the place. That we have to culturalize, Catholic charities. Because when you provide services, I come to see you, and I don't see anybody like me, I'm going to be a little suspicious. I'm sorry. That's just the way it looks. One of the things, and it came up today in the presentation at lunch, the lady said about racism. And God bless him. He helped her as best he could. But racism is real. I mean, I'm sorry. It has raised its ugly, ugly head in the past 4 years. And that's sad. It is so sad. Sexism is raised its ugly. All the isms. How sad, because Jesus, he's just shaking his head. God the Father's going, what the heck? These are my children. What are they doing? What are they doing? We have to, if the cancer is not going to be taken care of, eradicated, you have to recognize it as a cancer. It's like me ignoring if I found out I had cancer and say, oh, it's going to get better. I'm not going to look at it. Eventually it's going to we're eating me up, I'm going to die. We don't want that for our society. So when we look at it, there's an option for us to provide some cultural diversity within the system in which we provide services. It's very important because, especially if you're talking about someone's mental health. And I'll read this for you. It's done by, this is the other thing I'll just say. Color blindness is not an answer. How many of you are colorblind? Oh, I love y'all. That's so nice, because I've had so many people say, I'm colored, I don't see color. Well, you don't see me? I see you. God made us all beautiful, image and likeness of God. Everything is, God blessings, So that person didn't mean anything, because in their heart they're trying to say, okay, I'm not prejudiced. You're one of me, like me, whatever. But that's not a good terminology. Because for me, it's like the stew pot. How many of you like stew? I love stew. Oh, yeah. Now, do you want the potato to taste like the meat? You want the carrot to taste like the peas? No. Specific, beautiful taste, right? Now, the gravy is America. How beautiful is that, right? It's like a mosaic picture, right? So we want to recognize who we are, each of us, children of God, in beautiful mosaic colors and shapes and sizes. That's the other thing. We got to get off of that, frowning and looking at people because they don't look like us in shape and size. That's what we're talking about. But it says, a colorblind approach allows the denial of uncomfortable racial and cultural differences. Blind means not to be able to see things. And it's been said that wanting to be blind to color or race means wanting to ignore race or pretend its social and historical effects don't exist. It ignores the experience of being stigmatized by society and represents an empathetic failure on the part of the therapist. So, one of the things they found out, that when an African heritage person goes and has, seeks help from a mental health provider, and it's not someone of their background, there's instant kind of apprehension, because it's sort of it says here, the qualification is also, let me find it. He said, I once observed the assessment of a black patient by a senior therapist who was white. The patient was nervous, talking excessively, fidgeting and getting in and out of his chair. At one point, the therapist said, "Down, boy." to calm the patient, which the patient rightfully felt was degrading. The patient's offense was interpreted by the therapist as a sign of defensiveness, which would therefore make him a poor candidate for psychotherapy, and the patient was denied treatment. These are, I was like, okay. But if we don't, that's what I'm like, we don't immerse ourselves into programs that teach us about cultural competency, if we wish to serve people of different cultures, then we're going to make mistakes. That's just, unfortunately, that's the way it is. And I'll end with this. Excuse me. It says, dilemma of the black professional. The underclass minority present for treatment. When underclass minorities present for treatment, it is not hard for a white therapist to understand difficulties that may be linked to low income, lack of education, crime-infected community, and single parenting. However, black professionals seeking treatment can be challenging for white therapists who may not understand all the layers of difficulty such patients experience. Social psychology research has shown us that majority group members often attribute minority success to luck, racial hiring policies, or other external factors, with attributing failures to laziness, stupidity, and negative character traits. So it's a wonderful research, and it's done by, so if you would like to look it up, it says African Americans in Psychotherapy by Monica Williams, Dr. Monica Williams. Why race is important. It's an excellent, and for those of you who are therapists, or anyone, it's an excellent document to look at, because, excuse me, I'm going to go back to my opening statement. When Jesus looked at the nations, he was talking to all of his people, all of his father's people, all of his brothers and sisters. Our responsibility is to provide clothing, food, shelter, a bed to sleep in, to visit the sick, to visit those in jail, to look at our brothers and sisters as Christ would look at them. But we also have to remember that when we provide those services, is that, again, that is Jesus we're looking at, right? They're our brothers and sisters in Christ. And that we want them to be filled like we are in this together, that we are a family. Your office is a family for you to provide those services to myself, to any of us here, because we just don't know what life has in store for us. But we do know that Jesus will always be there for us. God the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit will always be there, because we as Catholic Christians, has an awesome responsibility to do that. Our documents have said that. Our documents, even before Catholic social teachings, tell us that. You know, the Vatican II documents, as he mentioned today, tell us who we are. Okay? And so it's God bless all of you for doing the things that you do, because it's not easy. It's not easy. I mean, I see people come in and provide the service that we need. I go to All Saints Catholic Church, and I'm going to introduce Linda, who's going to talk a little bit about those services. 11,000 people come to our doors in 6 months for food. 4,000 people for our food pantry. And we have, and I'm not sure how many women in the shelter right now, Linda?
We have 10 women.
10 women.
Mm-hmm.
And how many children?
We have 7.
7 children in a homeless shelter. And that, multiply that by, right? But God is there for all of us and will help us do the things that we need to do. All we have to do, as we talked about earlier today, as he talked about, it's just, I say, lean on the Lord. And he will help us do whatever's necessary for us to be a family. And so Linda's going to talk. Her name is Linda Bell. I'm so proud that she's here. She's taught me a lot. Her kindness and sweetness. Talk to us, Linda. Tell us about the services, because that was something they asked me to do
Thank
Just
you.
talk about the services at parish. If you have a parish, it's something that maybe you want to do.
Okay, my name is